welcome. Tonight we're going to be going through chapter 34 of the book of Genesis. Real quick, I'll be doing a stream Wednesday night and Thursday night, but there will be no stream on Friday night. Real quick recap of chapter 33. We saw Esau and Jacob basically reunite as brothers, and we saw basically them have this meeting. And then Jacob kind of leaves Esau behind and then continues on, but he stops short of Bethel where God told him to go, so he's stopping short of there. And now we're going to go into chapter 34, which is going to be one of the more depressing and sad books of the Bible. So we'll start with a word of prayer, and then we'll go into the reading of the word. Lord, just take this Bible study, Lord, and just do with it what you will, Lord. Just help us with what we're reading, Lord. Just help us bring certain things out and make things real and true to us, Lord, tonight. In your name, amen. All right, so chapter 34 of the book of Genesis. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and violated her. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young woman. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this young woman as a wife." And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his livestock in the field, so Jacob held his peace until they came. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved and very angry, because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife, and make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters to yourselves. So you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade in it, and acquire possessions for yourselves in it. Then Shechem said to her father and brothers, Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me I will give. Ask me ever so much dowry and gift, and I will give accordingly to what you say to me. But give me the young woman as a wife. But the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father, and spoke deceitfully, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said to him, We cannot do this thing to give our sister one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition we will consent to you, if you will become as we are. If every male of you is circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not heed us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. So the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. He was more honorable than all the household of his father. And Hamor and Shechem, his son, came to the gate of their city and spoke with the men of their city, saying, These men are at peace with us, therefore let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for indeed the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men consent to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised. Will not their livestock, their property, and every animal of theirs be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of the city heeded Hamor and Shechem his son. Every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of the city. Now it came to pass on the third day, when they were in pain, and two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. And they killed Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city, because their sister had been defiled. They took their sheep, their oxen, their donkeys, what was in the city and what was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones and their wives they took captive, and they plundered even all that was in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, You have troubled me by making me obnoxious amongst the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me. I shall be destroyed, my household and I. But they said, Should he treat our sister like a harlot? So that is chapter 34. Now, one thing of note, it's interesting, a couple commentators point out, God isn't mentioned one time in this chapter. The Lord's name or God isn't mentioned one time. So this chapter is kind of people doing things amongst their own will. David Guzik writes this. He says, This chapter contains one of the most shameful incidents in Israel's history. When the Bible shows its leaders and heroes in such terrible plain truth, we can know for sure that it is a book from God. Men normally don't write about themselves and their ancestors like this. So verse 1, so Dinah, their sister, she's going out into the land. Leopold said this, she goes out to the land where she's raped. He says, this occurrence serves to illustrate the low standard of morals prevalent amongst the Canaanites. Any unattended female could be raped, and in the transactions that ensue, neither father nor son feel the need of apologizing or excusing what had been committed. David Guzik says, Jacob's lack of attention and protection was partially at fault in this tragedy. His own compromise made him less able to stand up to his own children and guide them as he should. So again, going through that verse, so he saw her, he took her, so violated her, so he raped her, and then he's basically in love with her. He has feelings for her after he rapes her, and he wants to marry her. Warren Brisby says of the defilement, 3 times in the narrative, the word defiled is used to describe Shechem's wicked deed. The young prince claimed that he did it because he loved her and wanted her for his wife, but committing violent rape and keeping the girl confined in a house was a strange way to declare his love. So then Shechem goes to his father and he says, I want her as a wife. So then his father's going to basically go to them, to Jacob's sons, Jacob and his sons, and basically saying, I want your daughter for my son's wife. So verse 8, Hamor communed, so that David Guzik said, that is, he talked, he came to treat with Jacob himself, but he turns them over to his sons. And here we have a particular account of the treaty in which it is a shame to say the Canaanites were more honest than the Israelites. So they come to Jacob, but Jacob gives it over for his sons to negotiate this kind of conversation over what transpired and what they're going to do about it. What we're going to find that they're going to do about it, as we read, is that they're going to trick these Canaanites. Going down to verse 9, and please give her to him as your wife, make marriages with us, and take our daughters, and you will dwell with us. David Guzik says this. He says, this was a dangerous challenge to Jacob and his family. Irresponsible intermarriage with the Canaanites could prove especially harmful for this family with such a destiny in God's redemptive plan. Hamor and Shechem probably thought themselves generous, but their manner of negotiating the arrangement of the marriage insulted Dinah and her family even more than with just name your price attitude. They acted as if money and marriage could make the disgrace go away. So they were very flippant in their kind of wheeling and dealing, basically, to try to get Dinah, basically, permission for Dinah to marry their son who he had raped. The son raping her. So then Jacob's sons kind of come up with this thing, and they basically say, well, if you want to marry her, then you all need to be circumcised, you and all the men in your city. Now, Shechem and Hamor have to then go to the city, and that's where we see here in verse 18, and the words please Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. So they're okay with it. They're like, we're going to do this. But then he has to tell the men that he has to convince these men of the city that he's going to do it. So the way he convinces them is basically saying that, oh, well, we can take advantage of them when we're done. Verse 23. It says, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. John Wesley says, they observed that Jacob's sons were industrious, thriving people and promised themselves and their neighbors advantage by an alliance with them. It would improve ground and trade and bring money into their country. So it's a very greed-based thing that they're doing, and the fact that they're only becoming circumcised, basically, so they can infiltrate Jacob's family and gain wealth, basically. So now, verse 25, and it came to pass on the third day, so the men of the city agree, they get circumcised, and then on the third day, Simeon and Levi are going to go in and basically start killing. David Guzik says, this was not only a brutal, deceptive act, but it also disregarded God's covenant of circumcision. Surely, with a clever act of violent deception, Simeon and Levi showed themselves to be children of Jacob from a bitter, competitive home environment. So again, remember, they were raised in this competitive home environment with Rachel and Leah. They weren't raised with a lot of morals from what we see, so this is kind of a normal thing for them for them to do. So then they're going to kill them, and they're going to plunder them and take everything. Warren Wisby says this, at a time when the males in Shechem were in too much pain to defend themselves, Simeon and Levi, two of Dinah's full brothers, rallied some men from Jacob's camp and attacked the Shechemites, killing Hamor and his son and all the males in the city. Then they looted the city and took captive the women and children. It was an evil thing to do, and when Jacob heard about it, he was both angry and frightened. But during his lifetime, since he had done his share of scheming and fooling his father, he couldn't rebuke his sons without incriminating himself. He goes on to write, Simeon and Levi certainly went too far by slaughtering the Canaanites and looting their city in order to avenge their sister, and Jacob never forgot. And then we're going to go back into that in chapter 49 when we get there. By their deception and ruthless destruction, they ruined Jacob's testimony before the people of the land. What good was it for Jacob to build an altar and worship the true God before his pagan neighbors if his children were going to act like pagans? But it's sad to see that Jacob's greatest concern wasn't the vindication of purity or even his witness in the land, but rather his own safety. Had Jacob been in Bethel where he belonged, this tragedy may not have occurred. So again, he's more upset, if you look through verse 30, he's more upset about possibly getting killed by these people and them all rallying against him than he is about basically the morality in his family of, his sons killing all these people. And then verse 31, but they said, should he treat our sister like a harlot? And that's kind of Simeon and Levi's argument is, we're doing our own moral sense. We're not relying on the Lord, right? The Lord's never mentioned in this chapter, but in their own mind, they did what they felt was right. So at the end of this, we have Levi and Simeon are going to basically have a lot of struggles. Their parts, their families, their tribes are going to have a lot of issues because of the violence that came out of here. And we're going to see the repercussions even further on in the Old Testament of this. So that's where we're going to end tonight. We'll be in chapter 35 on Wednesday night, so we'll close out. Sorry, I have to get over to the other window. I don't see any questions, so we'll have a quick word of prayer and then we'll close. Lord, thank you for this chapter, Lord. As tough of a chapter it is to read and go through, Lord, thank you for your mercy, Lord, and your love for us, that regardless of what happens in Jacob's life and the struggles that he went through, that you're still the father of Jacob, Abraham, Lord, and Isaac, Lord. Thank you for being our Father, Lord. Just bless us here until we meet again on Wednesday night. In your name, amen. Thank you.